Hello, hello, hello. Today I am here with Dr. Robyn, and we are talking all things girl, that voice in your head, for real. I'm super excited to talk about this subject today. For those of you that don't know me, I am Sabrina Victoria, your host of her talk show. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that. These podcasts are guaranteed to have you thinking differently about life. Let's just jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
All of you that are already jumping on live. If you're also listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so we can jump in the comments and say hello. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. Dr. Robyn is a former competitive beach volleyball player turned mental MacGyver. I just freaking love that. For founders, executives, celebrities, and athletes, her doctorate is in organizational business psychology with a concentration in sports and performance. Her clients call her a smoke jumper because she parachutes in and helps fight life's fires from the inside. She has written 3 books and given a TEDx talk titled Creating Success Out of Chaos, has a daily podcast called Quick Hits, and offers a 5-week course called Better Conversations. Super excited to have this lady joining us today. Welcome, Dr. Robyn.
Hi, Sabrina. It's great to be here. Thanks so much.
Yes, I am so excited to hang out with you on a one-to-one. I know that we hang out in quite a few rooms together, networking and all that stuff, but it's nice just to be able to have one-on-one conversations and just dive into the stuff.
The stuff.
Yes. So you're bringing an awesome topic to us, and I love talking about this, especially in the arena of women. What's so interesting, which I don't know if you remember this, but our very first conversation we had, I work predominantly with all women. And I was like, women need this subject, blah, blah, blah. And you were like, Sabrina, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but men are dealing with the same thing.
Yep.
And I was like, what?
Yep.
It was such a interesting, pause. An interesting pause for me.
This is a human condition. This is all of us deal with it. Some of us hide it better than others, but all of us deal with it.
Yes. So we are talking about overcoming the voice in our head. Why are you deciding to bring this to a forefront today?
My voice is very loud. I mean, so loud that I gave her a name in my 20s before I ever went to college, before I ever experienced any psychology. I actually gave the voice in my head a name just so I could tell her to sit down and shut up.
Can you tell us what it is?
Her name is Harriet. And I tell her, Harriet, and I tell her on a regular basis, look, you are part of me. You are part of this journey. I get that. You are welcome to be along for the ride. You cannot drive and you cannot navigate. Sit down and be quiet. Because she's the part of me who is anorexic, who thinks I'm not good enough, who thinks I'm stupid, who thinks I can't. And let me tell you, she will make it very clear all of those things all of the time.
Wow. Why Harriet?
Well, my first husband's name was Harry and she's little. So Harriet.
Yes.
And you know a little bit of my story of my first husband. I did not choose him. My father did. So we can get into that if you want. But yeah, messy.
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, I would love to expand on this. We talk predominantly to women here, but I would really like to extend this just as an open conversation around humans in general. How does somebody, obviously naming the person, telling him to be quiet.
Don't name your person someone you know. Pick a different name. Don't pick someone you know. That's not good.
But what are some other things? What are some other tools that you find yourself consistently using to kind of quiet that voice and continue to step into fear? Because I know you have done so many amazing things. You work with so many individuals. It's hard to even believe that you're sitting here telling us that there is, a little gal inside of you who is talking negative things to you. So what are some of the things you do to
So there's a couple of different directions we can take it. We can talk about the psychological barriers that our voices in our heads can throw up at us. The other thing we could talk about, and we could do both eventually, is there's two different kinds of fear.
Okay.
So let's do the fear thing first. Two different kinds of fear. One is the kind of fear that is your trauma speaking. Don't do that. That's scary. We might fail. I know, whatever. That's that fear. That's fear you have to walk through, right? That's fear you have to overcome. Success is on the other side of that kind of fear. The other fear is your intuition going, that is a horrible idea. Do not do that. And that is the kind of fear we have to listen to. Because if you walk through that fear, your intuition is going to go on the other side. I told you that wasn't going to work. And unfortunately for me, I have mixed those two up more times than I can count, where I've walked through fear I should have listened to, and I've listened to fear I should have walked through.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I can totally see this. It's going to take me until the end of the podcast to like totally digest that, all transparency. But okay, so you knowing that, how does one just starting out learn to decipher?
So what I do is I actually have to look at it and be like, okay, I'm afraid, whatever that means. I'm concerned. I don't want to, whatever. Let's just do the word fear. Is this based on my trauma? Is this based on having parents who told me, you're just a girl, you should just have children, you don't need an education, you can't do anything? Is that what that is? Or is my intuition, which is pretty good if I would learn to listen to my gut, telling me that might not be the best idea? And I'll give you an example. So this happened many years ago. I wanted to hire a marketing and PR firm. I was interviewing different people, and the one that looked the best on paper, I just was like, I don't know. And I thought that it was my trauma speaking because he was expensive and all of that kind of thing. So I went ahead and hired him. He was a total shyster. He stole like $10,000 or $15,000 from me and did nothing. And looking back, I realized that really intense, I do not like him, was my intuition, not my trauma.
Wow. Okay. So taking an extra moment to decipher.
Kind of really look at it and say, and ask yourself, like, say, all right, you guys in there, intuition, gut feeling, whatever you call that, what's going on? And sleep on it or meditate or however your self lets you know things, and figure out, is this fear I need to walk through because it's trauma-based, or is this fear I need to listen to because it's intuition-based?
Beautiful. So I can conceptualize the intuition perfectly. Can you explain trauma fear a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned it really briefly. If you had parents who told you you can't, if you had teachers who were like, "Oh, you're dumb. You get C's. You're not good at this." And I mean, there's lots of different kinds of trauma. But if you have anything in your past where someone said to you, "You're not good enough. You can't do this. You're only allowed to be this successful. You have to let other people be more successful than you. You're not very smart. People are smarter than you." All of that stuff builds up in your subconscious, in your kind of subconscious attic. And if you trip over that box, you're going to fall on your face because you don't even know it's there. So this is one of the challenges that I have with my clients. I have very successful clients, but when I start talking to them about fear, I start hearing about their past. And this is a really good segue into the kind of types of stuff that our voices in our head can throw up. And I have a list over here, so I didn't miss any of them. Imposter syndrome. We all know what that one is. You've probably heard of it. My TEDx talk is about my struggle with imposter syndrome. This idea that I don't deserve, I'm not enough, who am I? What makes you think you can? Imposter syndrome. You've got self-sabotage, which is you get so far and then all of a sudden you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing. You know, one of the major psychological barriers, I know what I should be doing, I'm not doing it. Self-sabotage, whatever that looks like. And self-sabotage can be allowing yourself to get sick, not taking good enough care of your physical body to become ill or whatever happens. And then, oh, I have an excuse. Sorry, it didn't work out for me. I got sick. Yeah, because you didn't take care of your health. That's your responsibility as someone who wants to be successful, is managing your health. That's self-sabotage to not do that. Okay, so that's one. Upper limiting. I don't know if you've read the book, The Big Leap, but it's a great book, recommended all the time. That upper limit, that idea that people like me are only allowed to, whatever that is, people like me are only allowed to. And you might think logically, like your logical brain is like, that's not a thing. I don't believe that. But your emotional brain is like, oh yeah, yep, totally believe that. And you will self-sabotage yourself to keep you under whatever that upper limit is. And that upper limit is usually put on us as children. When we're very young, we're told people like you are allowed X and no more.
So this is why I hear sometimes where women will hit a financial threshold and they just can't get over. They're like, I've never hit whatever the money is. It could be linked to that.
Could be absolutely linked to that. You've got cultural issues. That's another way that the voice in your head may stay, well, you know, women in our culture don't do that, or this doesn't work that way, or I don't know. I would have to talk to you to say, what are your cultural issues that your voice in your head might be keep holding you back? Negative self-talk, that's all encompassing. That's a lot of stuff. Lack of focus. That's a big one where people work on. I talked to someone just yesterday where he's spending all of his time working on things that don't matter and letting the really important things slide because I don't have time to do that. And I'm like, let's talk about priorities. I have a saying, if you're telling me you don't have time, what you're telling me is that thing is not a priority.
Yeah.
If you don't have time to do something, then it's not a priority. And that's okay. I have no problem with that. If it's not a priority, let's just say that. Let's not use the excuse of I don't have time. And here's the thing that comes from all of these psychological barriers and things that our voice in our head says. We end up feeling overworked, overwhelmed, undervalued, underutilized, and underestimated. So let me walk through those. Overworked, overwhelmed, not surprising. Those are, yeah, we're successful people, we're busy. That's normal. It's not normal, but we'll go with that. Undervalued. People don't appreciate the amount of work that I do, what I bring to market. Undervalued. Underutilized. I'm so busy doing things that are not my zone of genius that my zone of genius is going untapped. Underutilized. And then underestimated. People don't think I can. People close to me don't think I can. People who are supposed to love me don't think I can. So overworked, overwhelmed, undervalued, underutilized, and underestimated.
Yes, on all fronts. I love this. It's not a priority versus no time.
Yeah.
One of the things that I started doing to kind of curve that is saying I don't want to. But I like that's not a priority. That's more empowering. I feel like than just saying I don't want to.
I don't want to.
Yeah. But I was trying to take out the I don't have time. So that was my fix to that. But I think that I'm going to try to I'm going to have to like put this on a Post-it note so I can.
My sister and I actually use it as a we say it to each other. So I have a really good relationship with my baby sister. She's 17 years younger than I am. And she has said to me in the past, I really wanted to talk to you. I didn't have time. And I said to her, if you want to talk to me, you need to make it a priority. And if it's not a priority, that's okay. I mean, you're busy. You work a full-time, very important job. You have a 5-year-old. You have a life. I get it. And that's okay. But if you want to talk to me and you feel like it's valuable to talk to me, then it needs to become a priority. And we need to figure out what that looks like. And if we have to schedule time, like put a meeting on our calendar, yeah, it feels artificial, but let's do that.
Yes, absolutely. So the one that's sticking out to me the most here is you talking about self-sabotaging through health.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like a handful of people, whether they are or they aren't, but popped up in my head as far as they're totally doing that.
Yep. It's so easy to not feed your body right, to not get enough sleep, to not hydrate the way you should, because your body will just keep chugging along. Like, we have amazing bodies that are just like, no matter how badly you abuse it, it'll keep chugging along. But eventually it's going to go, nope, I'm done. And you think it's inconvenient to take care of yourself now? When your body says, we need a break, it's really inconvenient. That never happens at a good time.
Yes. Wow. And how interesting to think about. Because when like in the mode of where I am in my life right now, my son's 19. So I'm just going full speed ahead. Like, I feel like I'm single again. It's like, I mean, I have a fiance, but I feel like, like I feel like I'm in my early 20s, where I was just like, what am I saying? It feels good. And one of the things that I'm really prioritizing, as I have been for a while, but is my health, because I have this vision for her nation and what's being created here. And I literally am like, I don't have time to get sick. Like, I have to make sure that I am eating right, exercising right, mental and emotional health, physical health, so that every day I'm good. Every day I'm good, so I can continue to build out.
You know what's another big one in health? Mental health. Who are you allowing around you? What are the people around you? People, places, things, and habits that either help or hurt. So health also includes your mental and emotional health.
Wow. So this is such a strong list. So to condense, when you are looking to live your best life, is basically what this is. You have to have a internal conversation with yourself about everything on this list. Imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, reaching your upper limits. I see that all the time. Lack of focus.
So busy with all the things that they don't. So one of the questions that I ask my clients, a lot of people want to start with, what's your vision? What's your plan? What's your goal? The question I ask my clients where I start, what do you want to be different?
Where do you want to be different?
Where do you want to be different?
How does that change the conversation?
Because when you talk about goals, plans, visions, you get pie in the sky. You get, this is amazing. You get, I want all this stuff. And there's a disconnect between, this is what I want and this is where I am. And yes, you need to know what you want. It's important. I'm not saying don't use that, but where are you now? What is not working now? Because if you're so busy running around now, trying to deal with all the little fires, you're never going to work on your vision. So what do you want to be different? And that's going to tell me what's broken right now that we can make better, that we can solve, that we can look at and kind of say, okay, what's our strategy? What's our plan? Let's build some tactical issues. Let's deal with the things right now that are keeping us from being able to focus. And then we can really work the plan to get to the vision. But what do you want to be different?
Yes, so powerful, 100%. I want to bring a comment up that I'd love for you to read out loud for the audio and then respond.
Okay. Just had this realization that I was sabotaging through health. I've been diagnosed with several autoimmune issues. Oh, sorry to hear that. Since this awareness and mindful practices, they are all practically disappeared. Oh, that's lovely. That's the power of focusing on what's important and not just assuming that health is some abstract, it happens to me. I'm a victim. I can't do anything with it. That's a great example of, I know what the issue is. I know it's self-sabotage, and I found something that works. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely. And So I hear this, at the very end here, you talked about overwhelmed and overworked.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear this all the time. How does somebody who is or believes they are overworked or overwhelmed, how do you streamline? How do you organize? Where do you start to even breathe?
Mm-hmm. I do a thing called, you're going to laugh at me. I do a thing called the foresting project, which is we look at the forest is all the things of their life, all the trees. And when you are in a forest that's really dense, you can't look at the individual trees because there's just so much forest. And so I take index cards, and I find it easier with real physical pieces of paper. You can do it online if you want to, and I write down, okay, we've got our personal life. What are all the pieces? And let's draw the branches that come under personal life, professional life, all the pieces. And you've got volunteering and your kids and whatever. If you can start breaking it out and finding all of these individual trees and looking at them individually, then you can say, which ones need to be pruned? Which ones need to be fertilized? Which ones might need some more water? Which ones just needs to be cut down? Why do I have this tree in my forest at all? But if you're so busy, just hamster wheel is a really good example of staying on, oh my God, I got to run. You're not going to take the time to manage your forest and make sure that it's healthy. So that's an example of I'm so overwhelmed with the forest that I can't see the trees.
Yes. And another question, how do you know what tree to get all up on first?
And that's the thing. When I sit down and talk to clients, we start creating and asking, and I ask them questions about, okay, tell me about this. How does this one feel? What do you think about this? What comes up for you when we think about this particular tree? And it's amazing how quickly it becomes very clear. That one needs to go. That one needs pruning. That one needs fertilizer. It just becomes super clear when you take the time to slow down and really look at it and do the foresting project.
Yeah, what I'm really appreciating about you making that answer so much simpler than what I thought it was going to be is sometimes we sit at our list, or sometimes we don't even have a list. We don't know where to start first, so then we start nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And what your answer really proved is start anywhere.
So here's the thing. I'm going to go into my psychology background a little bit. Your brain kind of has two pieces. It has your emotional brain and your logical brain. Your emotional brain doesn't have access to language. Your emotional brain is just all fight, flight, freeze, freak out, calm, whatever. Your logical brain is all language and doesn't have access to emotions. So if your emotional brain is all like, this is overwhelming, I can't do this, there's too many things, I don't know where to start. Your logical brain is just going, do I freak out? What do I do? I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. You're not giving me enough information. And you just, and so you have to, okay, everybody calm down. Hold on. Okay, calm down. And you have to find a way for your emotional brain to be able to say in language, and this is the hardest part. This is why talking to someone is better than thinking to yourself. For your emotional brain to go, I'm worried about this because, I'm afraid of this because. And once that because becomes language, your logical brain can go, I can work with that. All right. So have you ever had a situation? There's kind of two situations that are examples. One, you're in a fight and you think of the perfect thing to say 20 minutes later. That's because your emotional brain was so worked up, your logical brain couldn't think.
Okay.
The other example is if you're talking to someone and you say something and then you're like, that sounds stupid out loud. The first time your logical brain's had access to it.
This is so interesting. And to totally pivot for just 1 minute, completely off topic, I just had a crazy epiphany about my ex and I, high narcissistic vibes, and myself, who's extremely emotional. One of the things that I used to say, he was so quick with words. He could just hit you like a dagger, so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But he was more logical and I was more emotional. So he could throw these daggers at me so quickly. And I used to think to myself, he's so quick, he's so quick-witted. But it's just logical. And then I'm speaking with no words.
And so people who are really like that, They have their emotions on a tight leash. So their emotions don't overrun their logical brain. And so they always have access to, and that's why they can be wicked mean. They don't have the ability to feel the empathy of you're hurting me with your words because they don't have that connection.
Yes. So I would just be in the corner crying like a crazy person with no words, trying to think of words, but can't think of words.
Because your emotional brain is overwhelmed.
Yes. This is so interesting. Is there a way to, can we work on this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's some tips, just random things.
Not to like argue with abusive people, but
no, don't argue with abusive people. Walk away. Walk away. But when you're getting into that first space where you're about to get overwhelmed, you have, I'm going to say, psychosomatic, that's a big word, psychosomatic responses. And that means your physical body will warn you. So for me, when I start going, when I'm about to tip over that edge, I get a really gut feeling like I'm not okay. This is not okay. If I can catch that gut feeling and notice it before I tip over the edge and just kind of go, okay, I need a break, time out, give me 3 minutes, like just give me a timeout. And I talk about this in both of my first 2 books. Breathe. Give the emotions a minute. Give the brain chemicals a second. Just calm down, calm down. If you need to go for a walk for 20 minutes, but here's the key. Do not think about the problem because that just keeps the swirl happening. Go for a walk and think about the birds, think about the butterflies, think about something, but not the problem, and let the emotion bleed out. And once once it's gone and you're like, whew, all right, logical brain back online. Let's have a conversation now. But that ability to say timeout is great. Here's the thing. And this is part of the communication fingerprint that I teach people. What is your communication fingerprint? And then creating a team communication fingerprint. And that is it's much better to say to someone before you're in a difficult situation, hey, having a timeout is something that's healthy and important and it's something that we can do. So if we end up in this situation and I call a timeout, I'm not walking away from you. I'm not walking away from the problem. I'm not abandoning the issue. I'm just taking care of me. Give me 20 minutes and I will come back and we will continue the conversation.
Absolutely. With that nice little side note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how you handle it. You catch it first. Whatever your psychosomatic response is, whatever your physical body's warning is, it could be heart palpitations, it could be a tight neck, it could be shoulders, mine's my gut. All of us have one. The question is, what is yours and how do you catch it? And you have that long to catch it.
Yes. So working this, what the method that you're giving us here over time will create a stronger balance.
Yes.
Of emotional brain and logical brain.
Right. Because the first time you notice it will probably be after the fact. You'll be out of the situation and be like, dang it, I missed it. But eventually it's just like any habit. First you notice it after, then you start to notice it during, then you start to notice before, but you can't catch it. And then eventually you notice it early enough that you're like, I can do something with that now.
Yes, yes, yes. This is absolutely phenomenal. I am loving this. I want to talk a little bit about your story. I know I know that your story has some chaos in it, and you've already, came straight up, within the first 5 minutes talking about the, imposter syndrome and fear and stuff that you overcame. Yet you have built an unbelievably amazing business with and coaching amazing clients that come to you with their issues, their challenges that they're dealing with. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to kind of take the floor for a moment and just kind of walk us through that journey and how you have gotten to where you are now.
Absolutely. Happy to do that. I do want to say up front, I am okay. I have a wonderful marriage with an amazing partner now, and I have a lovely dog who I teach to do circus tricks named Nebula. So as I tell you this story, Don't worry, I don't get stuck there. All right, here, let's start. So I grew up in a cult. I was born to be a breeder. A woman's job is to have babies, and that is her only job, preferably male babies. So when I was 18 years old, 3 weeks after I graduated from high school, I was married off to my first cousin. He was 11 years my senior. He promptly moved me from California, where I grew up, out to Charlotte, North Carolina. I was about 6 months into that marriage when I realized 3 things. 1, he was not very bright. 2, he was very badly in debt. And 3, trifecta, he had a drug problem. But here's the win. He made me get a job. Married women in my family don't work, but he made me get a job. Now, I will fast forward through lots of chaos. 8.5 years later, he says to me, I don't love you. I don't want to be married to you, and I don't want you living in my house. Now, never mind that house was on a catfish farm. It was a slab of concrete, a plywood walls, tin roof, and I had to cut the grass in the bedroom because it was growing under the wall. But I had a job, and I had a friend who had a 2-bedroom apartment, and she let me move in with her. So that was awesome. That's when I started playing volleyball, and how I became a competitive beach volleyball player was after that marriage ended.
Wow.
Several years later, he comes back to me and he says to me, I want to try again. And I'm like, you have lost your mind. He says, no. Let me tell you what happened. I'm like, oh, by all means, I am all ears. Tell me what happened. He says to me, he starts naming names. I'm like, I remember them. He's like, well, they were part of a drug ring. They were a cocaine cartel. I'm like, okay. He says, they wanted to steal my identity because I had good credit. Thank you, Robyn. Good credit. But they knew that you ran our family finances and that you were going to notice. So they needed you out of the way. And I let them convince me that you were holding me back and that I could do better. And so I threw you out. So I might be the only person you ever meet who has a drug cartel to thank for getting me out of a bad marriage. But at 26, I had to figure out how to be an adult. I'd never made a decision in my life. I had no idea how to date. I had no idea how any of that worked. Fast forward 7 years, and I make my own mistake. I married a narcissistic, closeted bisexual. 0 out of 5 stars, do not recommend. But he also did me a favor. So he moved me from Charlotte up to Long Island, and then promptly took a job in London, England, and left me in the United States to keep his tax status. Now I'm just a pretty girl on Long Island with a high school education. I cannot even get an interview. Wow. And he says to me, we don't need your silly money anyway. Why don't you just go to college? And so for 6 years, I got an undergrad, a master's, and a doctorate. And on weekends, I would fly over to London or Barcelona or whatever, wherever he was. And I was executive arm candy wife. I would host dinner parties and wine tastings and brunches. And I did that ridiculous arm candy executive wife job while getting my degrees.
Wow.
Just after I finished my doctoral degree, he got transferred back stateside. And it became very obvious very quickly that it was not tenable if we were living in the same house. He believed in monogamy, that I should be monogamous and he should do whatever he wanted.
Okay.
And the narcissism in him, which you said you had experience with, just ugly. I mean, it was just nasty. He said things to me like, who the hell told you could write a book? No one would want to read what you wrote anyway. He said that to me on an island on St. John on a beach. So the divorce was as ugly as you can imagine. I got out. The last thing he said to me was, you will never make it without me. You are going to live in a box under a bridge. But I had my education, which he did try to make me, pay for. And then I made a list of all the things I did for him while he was in Europe and gave him a bill. And then he owed me money, so he let it slide. He also left his cats with me, which I made him pay cat support for, which is hysterical. But I got out of that marriage, and it was like, okay, I got to figure out how to make a living. I have this degree. I turned my dissertation into my first book, and I started, working on it. So that is a little bit of my journey to kind of figuring out, who am I? How does this work? And then how do I take all of this drama, trauma, trash and turn it into something beautiful that I can help other people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So all of that as the backstory, you're creating this beautiful vision for yourself, your business, your community. How did you continue to step into fear without feeling like everything was wrong?
Oh, I didn't always. Sometimes it was everything's wrong. This is broken. I can't make this work. I can remember when I was married to my first husband, standing at a party where there were lines of cocaine on a glass table and thinking, this is crazy town. This is absolutely crazy town. And I don't know how to get out of this. I don't have any choices. I don't know what to do here. This is nuts. So to say, oh, I had a vision and I knew it, that would be a lie. I basically just every day was like, how does today work? What do I need to do today to just stay alive, to not make bad decisions? What's the best decision I can make right now? That was the thing that kept me moving forward, is what is the best decision I can make right now?
Yeah, I can attest to that too. People will ask that, like, how did this even come to be? And I'm like, I just kept every day just making the next best decision.
I just don't give up.
Yeah. Yeah. Just continuously just moving forward. Like there's so many, the majority, it's like, I didn't even know where I was going. I was just moving forward, always doing it better, getting better, moving forward.
There is a dark side to that though. I will warn people, there's a dark side. The best advice I was ever given, Robyn, you are resilient. Stop making decisions that make you prove it. Don't do things the hard way. Stop making things so hard on yourself. If someone offers you help, take it. If you can pay someone to shortcut it, do that. Yeah. It doesn't make you of less value because you paid for help or you paid for knowledge or you did it the easy way. Like, don't do it the hard way just to say, I'm resilient. That's nonsense. And I can't tell you how many times in my life I made decisions because I felt like if I don't do it the hard way, then it's not fair. I didn't do the work to get where I'm going. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. And my emotion is coming up because just had a hard realization about this within the last month or so, not arguing, but friendly banter between myself and my master. Because up to this point, I predominantly have run my business by myself. I do have a couple of people, over that work for me to help with my YouTube and my podcasting, but predominantly everything is on my own. And I finally, literally 2 or 3 weeks ago, hired somebody to be my assistant, to help me. And really recognizing or really listening to the hard conversations from other women because of my identity of exactly what you said.
I can do it all. Yep. And I can't tell you how often I have to say to founders, you're paying this person. What are they doing for you? Yeah. You brought them on, you have an assistant, you have a VA, you have whatever, but you're still doing all the work.
Totally.
Why? What's going on there? And I have those hard conversations with male founders and female founders. We all do it.
Wow. Yeah. So the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've been creating a flow for her to uplift a lot of just this silly things that I am doing that I should not be doing. Because, and you said this, I don't know exactly what you said, not trying to put words in your mouth, but something like not utilizing
and believing that you're the only person that can. I have literally sat down with founders and said, look, if you can explain this to me and I can write it down and create an SOP, if I can create a standard operating procedure and I can read it back to you and then I can do it, that means we can teach someone else to do it. And you're not special. Someone else can do it for you. I love you, but you're not that special. Other people can do good things too.
Yes. 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 So Loom has become one of my best friends. I've been making Loom videos like you wouldn't believe, giving directions and, really letting go of a lot of the stuff in my business so that I can do the things that I am good at and show up stronger in those areas because I'm not doing these other little things like
it is self-sabotage to do the hard things yourself. If you can give it to someone, that is self-sabotage.
Working within one's zone of genius versus zone of excellence. That's what the person.
I see that. I'm interested in, I would have to think about the difference between zone of genius versus excellence. I'm thinking maybe what it means is that genius is more like you're better at it and excellence is I'm really good at it. So let go of the excellence and go be a genius. That's what I'm making up about that statement.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're still here listening, feel free to expand on that. Well, this has been absolutely amazing, Dr. Robyn. I feel like I could just stay here and speak to you forever. Oh, they said yes to exactly what you said.
Fabulous. Yay, I got it right. Yay, Robyn. Pat on the back.
Yes. High five. I so appreciate you being here hanging out with us. There are a ton of people sitting here live, listening all the way through, almost 40 minutes in. Thank you for being here, by the way. For those watching on the replay, if you could do us a favor and hashtag replay wherever you're at. But Robyn, obviously they were resonating with what you're saying. Can you do me a huge favor and can you tell us exactly what you do? I mean, we're getting a pretty good idea, but exactly what you do and who should be reaching out to you? Who do you help?
So I help anyone who is kind of the face of their brand. So that can be founders, executives, celebrities, athletes. If you are the face of your brand, and if you are the kind of person that if you were to go out into like the world, and let's say you were talking to a bartender and laying all your life on the line, and they might be able to take that and use it against you, you probably need someone to talk to in confidence. And the thing about people, I've asked people this, who do you talk to? Strippers, bartenders, taxi drivers, barbers, and the people at the gym. And I'm like, you don't have confidentiality agreements with them. They're not going to give you good advice. They don't have the experience. So here's the thing. I have a degree from the School of Hard Knocks first because I didn't go to college till I was 32. And what makes me unique is that I will talk to you about your personal life and your professional life. Nothing's off limits. No such thing as TMI. So I would encourage people, if you think that the knowledge that I have would benefit you, talk to me. We can have a hello conversation. And if you decide, no, not the right person for me, then walk away. I call myself a mental MacGyver because I'm really good at picking out the little, oh, we can use this. Oh, we can use that. That's garbage. Throw that away, and putting it together and creating success out of the chaos. That's what I do. That's why I'm a mental MacGyver.
Beautiful. Where can people find you?
So you can find me at mentalmacgyver.com. Although, as everyone always says, my website needs to be updated. I'm working on it. But LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's where you'll find my podcast, Quick Hits, which Sabrina, I think you've been on once or twice. So Quick Hits is on there. And also on YouTube, Dr. Robyn on YouTube is also Quick Hits are there as well. But I'd be really thrilled if people would reach out to me either on LinkedIn or go to my website and send me a message from there.
Fantastic. Well, I so appreciate you being here. This has been absolutely fantastic. I'd love to have you on again in the future if you were up for it.
Absolutely. Anytime that I can talk to someone who can help me kind of unload knowledge in my head to help other people, I am in.
Yeah, this has been great for me. One of the things that I love about podcasting is when I also learn stuff. You know, there's sometimes you come on and you're like, and then other times you come on and I actually got a full education, and that's why I just love this so much. So for those of you listening live, thank you so much for being here. Those watching on the replay, hashtag replay. If you resonated with Dr. Robyn and all of the awesomeness that she brought to us today, make sure you check her out at mentalmacgyver.com. It should be in a clickable link wherever you are watching us at. Any closing thoughts, Dr. Robyn, as we close up?
The thing that, and I close with this pretty often, this is from my TEDx talk. When you learn there's no water in a well, stop going there looking for a drink. When someone doesn't have stuff to give you, that regardless of how badly you want it from them, stop trying to get it from them. They don't have it to give.
That's heavy. That's heavy. That's good. That's good stuff right there. What a way to close up. That brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you, Dr. Robyn, for sharing your wisdom and inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, thank you for being with us until the very end. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I also invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other every step of the way. Until next time.